A very good morning to everyone here.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good
And
morning, ma'am.
good morning.
Morning, ma'am.
Morning, beta. I have sent a diagram on your SFS group, which you can draw on your copy. Since my marker ink is not there, I'll be purchasing it today. So till then, you have to bear with me. Otherwise, I'll be drawing it on the board. So you just draw that diagram in the meantime, since we start the class, so that it will be easier for you to get the explanation. We had finished last time the difference between public and private finance and also the similarities. So today we will be starting with a new topic in unit 1, which is principle of maximum social advantage. I will be requesting Sunidhi and Isha to write in the chat box whatever terms are there. Principle of maximum social advantage is the new topic which we will be uh, starting today. As we have already finished with the introduction part of public finance, I think all of you have some idea about why do we elect a state, or why do we choose a state, and what is the role of the state. Can anyone tell me that what is the role of the state? Why are the elections done in a country like India, and why do we vote for the government? Please unmute your mic, tell your name, and give me the answer that why we assume the existence of the state. Any one of you? हम गवर्नमेंट को क्यों इलेक्ट करते हैं? Because earlier the classical economists like Adam Smith believed in laissez-faire economy. Laissez-faire means least government intervention or no government intervention. He was of the belief that if you will elect the government, then you will have to pay and for the maintenance of the government, and that is why he was not in the favor of electing the state and the government and getting it perform those functions which we expect the government to do. But then later on, Dalton, Dalton was a public finance economist who said that there are certain functions which we cannot expect an individual to perform for the economic and social welfare of the country. And it's not always that the state is bad. For example, he gave the example of, say, harmful, injurious consumption goods like smoking and liquor. Now, if we tax those products, automatically their consumption is going to be reduced. So, it's not always that the taxation is bad, because taxation is essential for the maintenance of the government. भाई गवर्नमेंट कहाँ से पैसे लगाएगी? जो हम कहते हैं कि स्कूल खोले गवर्नमेंट और हेल्थ पे खर्च करे गवर्नमेंट, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पे खर्च करे गवर्नमेंट, तो फ्रॉम वेयर डू वी एक्सपेक्ट द गवर्नमेंट टू परफॉर्म दोज social and economic welfare functions? It's only through taxes. Taxes are the major source, as we briefly touched that aspect when we started with the introduction. So we need to talk about that. So he gave this example of harmful and injurious consumption and said that the government, when taxes those kinds of goods, then it's going to reduce their consumption, and in a way it is going to be bringing more welfare. So it's not always bad to assume the existence of the government and giving the tax. That is how we come to the conclusion that the government is elected for the people, of the people, and by the people, which many of you have political science must be studying about that why we talk about public administration and the existence of the state. So we if we conclude that the existence of the state is important, especially in a country like India, where majority of the population is not able to afford each and every product at the market price. बिकॉज जैसे ही आप ये एज्यूम करते हो कि हम स्टेट नहीं चाहिए, हमें हर चीज़ मार्केट फोर्सेस के द्वारा जो डिटर्मिन हो रहा है प्राइस उसी पर चाहिए, then in that case automatically the market prices tend to be higher than what the state is giving you in terms of subsidized or no fee product. So in that case the prices will definitely be higher. So how many of us will be able to afford that is a matter of inquiry. So here when we talk about those kinds of goods or those kinds of people who are not able to afford each and every good at the market price, then definitely we need a state. We can't say that the state should not be there. And that is why as soon as we uh, logically justify that the government needs to be there for people in a country like India, we have to we have to discuss the rationality of the government budget. So budget becomes essential as soon as you talk about the government. Budget is important for the individual also, as you might say, बट बजट का मतलब क्या होता है? जब हम इंडिविजुअल के तौर पे, जिसको भी इकोनॉमिक्स की नॉलेज नहीं है, वो उतना बजट नहीं करता अपने एक्सपेंडिचर्स को, अपने रेवेन्यू को, and that is why sometimes they fall in a debt trap or they are not planned, है ना? So economics tells you about the planning, economics tells you about the budgeting of your expenditures and income. So this is why similar thing applies to the government or the state. The government announces a budget for a financial year, that these are our receipts and these are the expenditures. This is the priority sector which we need to identify and we have to spend on. Like for example, these days COVID is creating that kind of area where the government has to spend more. Like the government has made so many hospitals, the government is spending more on the infrastructure. So this kind of prioritization and need, certain needs are emergent and certain needs are pre-planned. So for those kinds of things the government announces the budget. और budget हम आगे unit 2 में पढ़ेंगे, so I am not going in detail about the budget just now. But this principle which you are going to study now, that is the principle of maximum social advantage, has again two areas, public revenue and public expenditure. As we discussed in the scope of public finance also, that there are two areas, public revenue and public expenditure. So similarly, this principle is also based on these two important areas of public revenue and public expenditure. So we start with that. I'll just give you some lines for the background of this principle and then we will discuss. So you can start writing on this. The principle of maximum social advantage deals with the question of public budget. The principle of maximum social advantage deals with the question of public budget or the level at which the state should operate, or the level
deals with
this principle of maximum social advantage deals with the question of public budget or the level at which The state should operate or the boundaries means limitations, or the boundaries of its activities. It is imperative it is imperative that the tools of public finance, that the potent tools of public finance should be used with judicious discretion with judicious discretion and thoughtful planning. The ultimate purpose should be to design the policy and operations of the state. The ultimate purpose should be to design the purpose, sorry, the ultimate purpose should be to design the policy and operations of the state so as to achieve maximum possible advantage or welfare for the society as a whole, or welfare for the society as a whole. The criteria adopted in this context may be given a collective name of the principle of maximum social advantage. Just read it, these lines. If it is clear, then please write in the chat box yes, so that we can proceed. This paragraph talks about the potent tools of public finance like public revenue, public expenditure. So what is the role of the government is to use those potent tools of the public finance in a judicious manner. That means in a rational manner, you have to use those tools of public finance to design the policy and operations of the state. That means when you are drawing the policies, when you are making the taxation policy, for example, then you have to use those tools in a judicious manner. And this principle which helps the government to judiciously use These boundaries, these laws, these rules may be called the principle of maximum social advantage. So, judicious use is essential of the policy tools, and for that we need a principle, we need a law, like law of demand you studied in your BA first year. Similarly, this is the law, this is the principle of maximum social advantage, which tells the government that this is the boundary, this is the limit where you should stop your financial operations. For example, taxation. Now, if the government is putting on the taxation of the people, it creates burden. Ultimately, it creates burden on the one hand on the pockets of the people, and on the other, the government of these countries is a soft government. Why they are called soft government is because there are, like, multi-party existence. So if the one existing government will impose more taxation, then automatically people will vote that government out. That is why the position of the government is a soft government, right? They cannot impose a very harsh or stringent policy. तो ये प्रिंसिपल जो है ये गवर्नमेंट को हेल्प करता है ये बताने के लिए कि ये लिमिट है, इसके आगे आप अगर टैक्सेशन लगाओगे तो आपकी पोजीशन के लिए डेंजरस है, आपको लोग क्रिटिसाइज करेंगे. So that is why we are using this kind of lines here, that it tells you about the context in which you should behave, the government should behave, the government should operate, and the boundaries of its activities, that means the limitations of its activities. Similar thing applies to public expenditure, which is another tool of public finance. Now expenditure, इतनी बड़ी population है इंडिया की कि आप expenditure करते जाइए, there is no end. But you have to keep in mind till what limit you have to do the expenditures. Sometimes it's emergent situations like COVID, but otherwise the government has to fix up a limit. Nahi, we will do only this amount of expenditure because we don't have finances beyond this. So this is called the boundaries. So this principle is important, maximum social advantage, because it tells the government that these are the boundaries, these are the limitations of financial activities, this is the limit for taxation, this is the limit for expenditure, and there the government should stop. So I hope that you have understood the background of why we are going to study this principle in public finance. If you have understood, please write one of you a yes so that we can proceed. Okay, thank you. Now, based on this, you can elaborate on the economist's perception on this principle. In the second paragraph, we will try to advocate why it is important and start with Adam Smith. As I just told you in the introduction part, that Adam Smith is called the father of economics, and he was a classical economist. He was the wealth economist, as you have studied in your BA first year in his wealth definitions. Now, he was of the opinion that the state has no role. We should not unnecessarily assume the existence of the state, क्योंकि अगर आप स्टेट को पावर में लाओगे, अगर आप इलेक्ट करोगे, तो आपको उसका मेंटेनेंस भी करना पड़ेगा. तो उन्होंने लोगों को यही बताने की कोशिश करी कि नहीं, स्टेट की ज़रूरत ही नहीं है. लेट द मार्केट फोर्सेस leave themselves free to operate, and it is the automatic adjustment mechanism of demand and supply which will create an equilibrium price in the market, and then on the basis of that market price everything should be sold, so that each one will be getting those products at the market price. The government will also not be running in loss. The economy will automatically adjust itself with the equilibrium. So that is their perception, which you will start with. You can write here that the classical economists like Adam Smith assumed that the classical economists like Adam Smith assumed that the state was an entirely extraneous body or a necessary evil, evil, and maintaining the state would create an unnecessarily economic burden, and maintaining the state would create unnecessarily an economic burden, and therefore the best position would be and therefore the best position would be where the state activities where the state activities would be kept to the minimum, would create economic burden. Somebody asked that. Where the state activities were kept to the minimum. As JB Say was also an economist, as you know. As JB Say pointed out that within inverted comma you can write his statement. The very best of all plans the very best of all plans to finance is to spend little and the best of all taxes is that which is least in amount, inverted comma closed, which is least in amount. What do you understand by this quote? The very best of all plans is to spend little, and the best of all taxes is which is least in amount. Can anyone explain this? What did JB Say mean by this statement? Srishti, I'll request you to please modify the attendance sheet. please participate in the class. Why we want to say people should spend less. People should not spend less. The government should spend less. We now see, uh, when you are talking about this paper, please keep that in mind. You are not talking about individual consumer. You are not talking about yourself, right? So you are talking about the state, you are talking about the government. So always, in your answers, make that terminology. You are talking about state. So in this statement which JB said, what did he mean by saying that that is the best plans is, for the state is to spend little? That means people should not spend less, but we are talking about the government. The government should spend less. The government
Ma'am,
should.
but the classical economists believe that government should not interfere only. Then how should
Yeah,
matlab government should?
that's right. That's why I told you about Dalton also. I gave you that example also. So we are talking about, the changes in the perception of the economists. Firstly, it was Adam Smith who just ignored the existence of the state and he believed in laissez-faire. Then came, the neoclassical economists, which you call like JB say, Dalton, who said that if we can't do without the existence of the state, क्योंकि कई कई लोगों का ये भी कहना है कि नहीं, बिना स्टेट के आप इस कंट्री में, जहाँ पे कि 70% लोग जो हैं वो एक पॉवर्टी लाइन के नीचे हैं, वहाँ पे अगर आप स्टेट की बात ही नहीं करते हो एंड यू लीव एवरीथिंग ऑन टू द मार्केट, then many people will die due to starvation because they will not be able to afford each and everything at the market price. Are you getting me? So that is why
Yes, ma'am.
we assume the existence of the government. Like these people, the later economists who came after Adam Smith, they were of the opinion that we can't do without the state. The existence of the state is an essential entity. Please mute your mics. And that is why when we assume the existence of the government and it becomes essential, then in that case we will have to see that what is the limitation of that state. The state cannot do the cannot do the expenditure on and on, like there has to be a limit. तो उसी के बारे में यहाँ पे जेबीसी ने इस कोट में लिखा है कि द बेस्ट वे ऑफ ऑल प्लान्स इज टू स्पेंड लिटिल. दैट मीन्स if the expenditure has to be done, then the best policy is to spend the least. That means within control. क्योंकि इतनी ज़्यादा पॉपुलेशन में अगर आप एक्सपेंडिचर की बात करो तो देयर इज़ नो एंड टू इट. Everyone, if you will provide to one person, फॉर एग्जाम्पल अब पीपीई किट की अगर हम बात करें और हम कहें कि नहीं, इतने लोगों को पीपीई किट देनी चाहिए गवर्नमेंट को, इट्स ट्रू, बट देन फ्रॉम वेयर? लाइक कहीं तो हमें ये भी देखना होगा कि रेवेन्यू सोर्सेस क्या हैं, टैक्सेशन हम कितना लगा सकते हैं. क्योंकि अगर गवर्नमेंट टैक्सेशन बहुत ज़्यादा लगाएगी रिच लोगों पर भी, क्योंकि एक मेथड ये हो सकता है जो कि आप ये एडवोकेट कर सकते हो एज अ स्टूडेंट, कि जो हमारे यहाँ इनइक्वालिटी है इतनी ज़्यादा, वो इसी वजह से है. तो अगर जो हमारा कॉरपोरेट है, जो हमारे रिच पीपल हैं, इफ़ वी टैक्स ऑन देम, एक्चुअली आई एम गेटिंग सम साउंड्स, प्लीज म्यूट योर माइक्स. So if we will assume the existence of the state, then we will have to afford the maintenance. But taxation, अगर हम rich लोगों पे भी एक beyond a limit लगाएंगे, they are the people who are saving and investing for the economic growth of the country. And if we will tax them more, then they are going to not invest for the economic growth of the country. जितने भी फाइनेंशियल फंक्शंस होते हैं गवर्नमेंट के, उनको जो सपोर्ट मिलता है वो कहाँ से मिलता है? बड़े बड़े कॉरपोरेट से मिलता है. तो अगर आप कॉरपोरेट पे टैक्स लगा दोगे तो वो गवर्नमेंट को कोई भी कॉरपोरेट क्यों सपोर्ट करेगा? So that is why this option is rejected sometimes, that you tax the rich people more, and from there you collect the revenue and spend it on the poor people. एंड मेनली अभी हमारे जो इंडिया में टैक्सेशन सिस्टम है वो प्रोग्रेसिव टैक्सेशन सिस्टम है, कि अगर हमारी इनकम उस ब्रैकेट से, फॉर एग्जांपल इनकम टैक्स अगर आप लें, आपके घर में आपके फादर मदर जो भी वर्किंग है, सैलरी क्लास है, वो इनकम टैक्स पे करता है. नाउ income tax is on the basis of rates, but it is progressive. Higher the income, higher the tax rate. Now salaried class से फिर भी लेना आसान है, because they don't evade, like we can't evade our taxes. Our income is reflected in form 16, and whatever taxes are deducted, it will be TDS. TDS means tax deducted at source. तो हम तो नहीं बोल सकते, but corporate tries to evade the tax. Sometimes they don't and they try to show the money. The government doesn't have that kind of authority, because the government is not paying, right? The government is not paying those corporates. So that is the difference when you are talking about this statement of JB say. What he tried to say is कि अगर हमें गवर्नमेंट का एग्जिस्टेंस मानना ही है, और अगर हम बिना गवर्नमेंट के काम ही नहीं कर सकते, और वो जो सोशल और इकोनॉमिक वेलफेयर फंक्शंस हैं उनको वी कैन नॉट एज्यूम द कैपिटलिस्ट टू परफॉर्म, बिकॉज कैपिटलिस्ट इज इंटरेस्टेड इन हिज ओन प्रॉफिट्स. So in that case the government has to pitch in, but then the best option is to keep the taxation at minimum level and to spend a little. That means the expenditure should also be in control. Then only that policy will be said to be logical and good. I hope that I have been able to explain this. And this was the assumption which the later economists from Adam Smith came in. They criticized Adam Smith, and they presented those kinds of goods and services where taxation is not always bad. Also, taxation on harmful and injurious goods are going to bring in the social and economic welfare for the economy. They improve the productivity of the people, and hence they will be able to contribute more for the economy. So this assumption is by the later economists of Adam Smith. Now one more assumption which flows from here is, you have to say that there are two aspects now again and discuss them. One is public revenue and the other is public expenditure. Now public revenue का जो largest source है वो क्या है? Taxes. Now taxes, if we assume that all taxes create burden or economic burden on the people, all taxes drain economic resources. Clear? So this is how this is one of the assumptions, that all taxes will create economic burden and all public expenditure restore these resources. That means they don't drain. Public expenditures जो भी आपके हेल्थ, एजुकेशन, इस तरह के जो इकोनॉमिक और स्ट्रैटेजिक कंसर्न सेक्टर्स हैं उन पे जो गवर्नमेंट स्पेंड करती है, नाउ दीज सेक्टर्स एक्सपेंडिचर is going to create the resources, and on the other hand taxes are going to drain off the economic resources. This is an assumption which flows from the two sides of public finance activities. So talk about that, and that is why the government policy should be related to these two aspects, these two areas. Explain them clearly in your notes. One is public revenue, and public revenue में the major source of public revenue is taxes. So we make this assumption for the principle of maximum social advantage. Just to simplify the analysis, the first assumption which you can write is that the public revenue consists of only taxes.
Ma'am, please repeat.
The public revenue consists of only taxes. and not gifts, loans, fees, etc. क्योंकि कुछ नॉन टैक्स रेवेन्यू रिसोर्सेज भी होते हैं which we are just ignoring in the analysis of principle of maximum social advantage, and we assume that public revenue consists of only taxes and not loans, gifts, fees, etc. And second assumption is that public expenditure is subject to the law of diminishing marginal social benefit, the law of diminishing marginal social benefit, and the taxes are subject to increasing marginal social disutility, and the taxes are subject to increasing marginal social disutility or costs,
Ma'am,
COS.
can you please take this point again?
Okay, public expenditure is subject to the law of diminishing marginal social benefit. That is one law. Law of diminishing marginal social benefit. Underline it. You will have to explain it. And the taxes are subject to increasing marginal social disutility. Underline it again. Taxes are subject to increasing marginal social disutility or costs, COSTS. Now you need to explain this when you are making this assumption. First assumption, I hope it is clear in the principle, that public revenue consists of only taxes. This is just a hypothesis. This is just an assumption. Just to simplify the explanation, that पब्लिक रेवेन्यू के जो सोर्सेज हैं, जो गवर्नमेंट को रेवेन्यू मिलता है, उसका एक मेजर सोर्स है टैक्सेशन, एंड we are just ignoring the other revenue resources like loans, fines, fees, gifts. We just assume that they are not there. We assume that the government is going to get its revenue to finance its activities only through taxes. The second assumption is more important, which talks about the two aspects of public finance. One is taxes, from where the government is getting its revenue, and the other is expenditure. Now you must be remembering about the law of diminishing marginal utility, which you studied in BA first year. Don't forget anything which you studied in your BA first year. That's my advice to you, कि नहीं वो किताबें आपने हटा दी या समझ लिया कि अब उसका काम ख़त्म हो गया. ऐसा नहीं होता. इकोनॉमिक्स में एवरीथिंग इज़ इंटर रिलेटेड. सो व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट पब्लिक एक्सपेंडिचर, सिमिलर थिंग इज़ हियर. एक्सपेंडिचर, पब्लिक एक्सपेंडिचर का मतलब दैट एक्सपेंडिचर इज़ डन बाय द गवर्नमेंट on the public, on the people who cannot afford each and everything at the market price. The government is going to spend or provide them those goods and services. And इसको एक term use करते हैं social goods, right? So social goods are those goods which are provided by the government for the society, which are provided by the government for the social welfare of the people, like education, health. जो government schools हैं, जो government hospitals हैं, they are called social goods. Building up of roads, building up of bridges, providing metro services, ये सब क्या है? ये सारे items क्या कहलाएंगे? Social goods. So this is public expenditure. Now public expenditure is subject to law of diminishing marginal social benefit. लॉ ऑफ डिमिनिशिंग मार्जिनल यूटिलिटी क्या कहता था? आप में से कोई एक्सप्लेन कर सकता है? Because I will just get an idea that what is still in your mind, because you haven't given your exam this year. So I just want to revise that. Law of diminishing marginal utility for an individual
Ma'am,
consumer. Please.
as the consumer consumes more and more of the like standard unit of that
Commodity.
commodity, then his utility keeps on decreasing.
Right. Very good. So this is law of diminishing marginal utility. Similarly, जब government spend करती है, then it is also subject to law of diminishing marginal. यहाँ पे आपने social use कर दिया क्योंकि आप social goods की बात कर रहे हो. Benefit मतलब as the government is going to increase or spend on more and more units of the goods or services of social goods, then automatically it will create lesser and lesser benefit. Why? Because the law of social marginal benefit in a diminishing manner applies here also. जैसे जैसे हम यूनिट्स बढ़ाएंगे, यूनिट्स ऑफ कंजम्पशन ऑन द पीपल जो बढ़ाएंगे, वैसे वैसे उनको जो एक्स्ट्रा यूनिट से, एडिशनल यूनिट से यूटिलिटी मिल रही है, वो यूटिलिटी डिक्रीज होती जाएगी. Are you getting me? So that is why the government, if going on and on spending on social goods, it has to keep in mind that as more and more units are added, it is subject to the law of diminishing marginal social benefit on the one hand. The other is taxes. Taxes are creating economic burden, that's for sure. Now the burden goes on increasing. जैसे जैसे एडिशनल यूनिट्स ऑफ टैक्सेस इम्पोज होंगी, वैसे वैसे इट इज सब्जेक्ट टू इंक्रीजिंग मार्जिनल सोशल डिसयूटिलिटी. Marginal means additional. That means the additional utility, which is, sorry, additional disutility, the additional dissatisfaction which you will experience while being imposed additional units of taxation is going to create more and more economic burden on the people. Clear? So increasing marginal social disutility on the one hand and diminishing marginal social utility on the other hand. तो एक तरफ है social utility और एक तरफ है social disutility. Social utility from public expenditure, which is for sure कि अगर गवर्नमेंट स्पेंड कर रही है ऑन सोशल गुड्स, इट इज गोइंग टू क्रिएट यूटिलिटी फॉर द पीपल, बट इट इज सब्जेक्ट टू दिस लॉ ऑफ डिमिनिशिंग मार्जिनल सोशल यूटिलिटी. एंड ऑन द अदर हैंड जो टैक्सेस लगेंगे, इट इज गोइंग टू क्रिएट डिसयूटिलिटी फॉर श्योर, इट इज गोइंग टू क्रिएट इकोनॉमिक बर्डन फॉर श्योर, बट इट इज सब्जेक्ट टू इंक्रीजिंग मार्जिनल सोशल डिसयूटिलिटी. तो एक चीज आपकी कम हो रही है और दूसरी चीज आपकी बढ़ रही है, राइट? सो एवरीथिंग, when these two arrows are going in opposite directions, then the government has to keep in mind that when the government is increasing its financial operations of taxes and expenditure activity, every additional benefit, every additional rupee which the government is spending on the people, the social benefit derived from it falls, while the dissatisfaction from each additional unit is going to increase. The dissatisfaction from every single additional unit being taxed increases. And in this way, a point will be there where the social utility created by the public expenditure is equal to the social disutility created by taxation, right? So social disutility created by taxation will become equal to the social utility created through public expenditure. That is the point of maximum social advantage. where the utility is equal to disutility. यूटिलिटी किस चीज़ से मिल रही है? सोशल गुड से मिल रही है, पब्लिक एक्सपेंडिचर से मिल रही है, और डिसयूटिलिटी किससे हो रही है? टैक्सेस से हो रही है। तो ये दोनों, एक पॉइंट ऐसा आएगा जहाँ पे ये एरोज जो ऑपोजिट डायरेक्शन में जा रहे हैं, एक इंक्रीज कर रहा है और दूसरा डिक्रीज कर रहा है, देयर विल बी अ पॉइंट वेयर दे बोथ बिकम इक्वल, एंड दैट इज द पॉइंट ऑफ judicious expenditure, and that is the point of judicious taxation. That is the point of maximum social advantage, where the government should stop its financial operations, because beyond that, if the government goes, it will be a problem. Below this, if the government will stop, again, the government will be motivated to do more. So this is how, on the basis of as these assumptions, we come to the conclusion of this equilibrium point, which is called the principle of maximum social advantage point. You can write here: as the state increases its taxation and expenditure activities, as the state increases its taxation and expenditure activities, we'll finish with this paragraph, the diagram we'll do on the next turn. The state increases its taxation and expenditure activities, the social benefit or the utility derived from each additional rupee falls, while the dissatisfaction from each additional rupee taxed increases.
Ma'am, please repeat the sentence again.
On this basis, as the state increases its taxation and expenditure activities, the social benefit from each additional rupee spent falls, while dissatisfaction from each additional rupee taxed increases. And this way, a stage is reached, a point is reached, a stage is reached when the increasing marginal dissatisfaction of taxation, becomes equal to the falling marginal benefit of expenditure, becomes equal to the falling or diminishing marginal benefit of expenditure. At this stage, the state should stop expanding its financial activities. At this stage, the state should stop its financial activities. And this is the point where the social benefit from the expenditure is equal to the social disutility from taxes. And this is the point of maximum social advantage. This is the point of maximum social advantage. So we will close today's class at this point. You all should mark your attendance for both the begin and the end. Srishti, please take care of that, and please put that attendance sheet at the very beginning of the class. Some people are not able to mark the attendance, so please connect with Srishti and she'll help you out in that. Uh, Sunidhi, we will share the screen in the next class, and then I will be asking or taking your help. If you can take the help of Jamboard and draw the diagram, that would be excellent. And just see if you can draw it. I think you can draw it, and then I'll explain that diagram. That is
Okay.
how the sharing of the screen will be done by Sunidhi along with me in the classes, because she has the laptop. I would want one or two or more of you to volunteer here till we have online classes, to volunteer if you have laptops, because we will be needing it in more numbers for recording and other purposes also. So uh, please help in this, write on the group if you can volunteer for these things, because Srishti is also alone managing the attendance for this class for SFS group. So one of more of you can volunteer to help her in the attendance also, because it is going to be on a continuous basis till we have online classes. Anything else which you want to share? Because now we have I have separated the classes in regular and SFS, because Google Meet doesn't allow more than 100, and we were seeing that lot of you were not able to access the classes. But this is for sure that if you attend the class, or if you seek our permission beyond 5 minutes, then we will not be able to admit you. So please see to that if teachers can be punctual, you should also be punctual. uh, Please take care of yourself and stay safe, and study hard for your future. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.